again, the most important thing, your role as a man is to discern who are the time wasters and who's actually genuinely interested in you. And that's fair to say for women too. Women should also think, is this guy just gonna use me, or is he gonna be like actually somebody that wants to keep me around? Through my teaching and my passion, Axel, I just want guys to have more clarity in their life.
Tell me about this coaching advice and all of this. To be honest, I don't know much about that space.
Yeah.
And like when I first heard about it, every time I hear about that, it's like, that sounds like weird. So tell me, how did you get involved in that, and how is that, maybe talking about it from more of like an industry point of view, because that's what I'm curious about. I'm curious about the branding behind the dating advice industry, because I've seen a lot of people who build massive brands, and I don't know much about it. I'm curious about it. That's also why I wanted to have you on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna right off the bat say this: that terrible advice, dating advice, is this: you're lying to women, you're being deceitful to women, you're being inauthentic, you're playing some kind of gimmick to get in her pants. That's horrible dating advice. So anything that sounds like it, seems like it, can be portrayed as that, avoid that dating coach altogether. The dating industry is very competitive because every guy wants to say, or if you're like a male dating coach, like female dating coach, I'll just speak on male dating coach since I'm a guy. It's very competitive.
Do women also have dating coaches?
Absolutely. Women, yeah, for sure. So there's Matthew Hussey, who's a male dating coach who does for women, and he's making bank. But I think for the most part, his intentions are good. Like, he really wants women to have successful marriages. Like, I know out there he really wants the best for them. I just have a personal difference in some of the things that he says and how I go about it, how women can attract the kind of guy that they want. The problem is this, that the mainstream dating advice that men and women are giving to the public, it doesn't really get you the results that you want. And the reason why I say that is because once you get, let's say, intimate with that partner of yours, right? And then you get to the relationships, how you maintain a healthy, solid relationship from the beginning to the end is what's the most important part. I mean, any guy can get into a girl's pants, and any girl who wants a guy that bad enough, she'll literally just instantly can open her phone book, open her Instagram DMs, and get any guy to come meet with her at any second. It's not that hard. But to maintain and to cultivate a relationship, that's
like completely different.
Yeah. So the industry is broken up into this. There's mainstream dating advice, and there's this one thing called pill content theory. Pill
content theory?
Yeah.
What? First time ever that I heard that. What the heck is that?
Yeah. So mainstream would be like Matthew Hussey, what you see on KCAL News or any news source, like saying, hey, if you want to like learn how to do dating, 99 ways to please your woman, or like you go to the grocery store, you see like 5 ways to please your woman for Valentine's Day. That's like mainstream dating advice. Pill content theory is this. So it's broken up. There's a whole world on YouTube out there right now. If you type in red pill dating, you're going to see a bunch of content creators talking about what is the red pill. And the red pill, there's guys out there that explain it way better than I do. So excuse me if I don't explain it as well, but the red pill is like this. Everyone's born with like no source of information, right? You're your baby. You don't have any trauma. You don't have any success. There's no highs and lows. You're just a baby, right? Then as you grow up along the years, everybody faces some kind of trauma, whether it's severe, it's not as severe, what kind of family you come from, all that kind of stuff. And then also it depends on like your relationships with different people. Like, let's just say you're a heterosexual male and you go about dating women throughout your life. You know, whether they broke your heart, whether they did this, they cheated on you, whatever happened to you is going to dictate like where you're going to kind of end up in the dating space. So if you end up, let's just say, a traumatic dating experience, or you came from a bad divorce, or you're like a guy like me, you've been flaked on multiple times, or you're trying to figure out like, why doesn't a girl not take me seriously? Why is it that I want these kind of girls, but these other girls are the ones I attract? You want to know the answers. And throughout my life, I try to figure out, why am I getting these results? And the mainstream dating advice was not helping me. It would get to a certain point, but it wouldn't help me. Pickup artistry, by the way, is something that could be added into the mix of the dating industry. So you have mainstream, you have pickup artistry, and then you have, pill content. And the pickup artistry is like what you hear, like where like, for example, this book called The Game by Neil Strauss was developed. It was these guys who went about and like they picked up women, and the way they did it was they all had this like weird characteristics about them that would make them unique as well. Some women were very attracted, other women were turned off from it, but it didn't really go anywhere. It kind of like fell apart. Now there are some pickup artistry groups that are doing well. It's just very like under the radar. I don't really subscribe 100% to pickup artistry just because it does teach men to be a little bit inauthentic with women. And I don't agree with that. You should always keep it real with girls no matter how harsh the truth sounds. And there's ways to be tactful about how you communicate with women as well. So now if we're going to go to the content creation, pill content, right? Blue pilled means like you see the world literally like the way the media portrays it for you, right? You see the world with like no skepticism. You see the world like if this is this, then this is this, and that's it. And there's no like underlying truth.
Yeah. Is this related to the Matrix?
Yes, it is. It is. Okay. Like the red pill versus blue pill all came from like they use the Matrix as a reference. So you say once you take the red pill, then you will never unsee it. So I went into the space as a student and as a curious man because I remember I was in my master's business program, and this girl in my class that I was very interested in, she was very cute. She was very she was just cute. I wasn't that connected with her like at all, and I tried to connect with her, but I didn't know how to do it. And I felt like I was always lost. Like I always felt that if I'd approach a woman, it was kind of like up for grabs. Like I just throw anything against the wall and see what sticks, right? So I didn't have a strategy. I didn't have a game plan. Now I'm not talking about like if you're going into a set of women and you want to talk to them. I'm not saying like, okay, at minute 1 I'm going to say this, at minute 3 I'm going to say that. That's not what I'm saying. You just need some kind of strategy to like figure out, okay, how are you going to get her from where you are to being intimate with you? That's like what the underlying strategy should be. Okay.
So back to this red pill thing. Yeah. What would that look like?
So the red pill, what it does is that it helps you. It's not a prescription of what you should do and how you should talk to women. It's giving you. It's like a description. Like it's important to mention that because prescription versus description. Prescription would be like, go do this. Description is like, this is what it is. So it really opens your world to realize, oh wow, like, women are not all sugar and spice and everything nice. Like there are some bad women, there are good women. Just like there are bad men and good men as well. So it just helps you open the world to like, what women will say, they will say they want this one thing, but deep down they don't really want it the way that they say it. It's kind of like you learn about one big theory in the red pill is that follow women for what they do, not for what they say. So if they say, hey, I'm down to hang out, and you hit her up for a date, and she says, oh, I'll let you know, she's probably not interested in you, and you should move on to somebody else that's actually interested. So that's just like a small section of what it is. And there's a whole world out there. There are beefs of different content creators of who's right and who's wrong. It's crazy. And then there's even different colored pills. This means this, that means that. Different ideologies.
Colored pills.
Yeah. Different ideologies.
This sounds too complicated.
It's deep, man. There's levels to this. Like there's a lot of levels to this stuff. And if you want a woman, you should go. There's a different way of going about it than what you've been taught and what your parents maybe taught you. I mean, I had my parents like say, Cameron, your content, it's maybe too extreme. A lot of people say it's too extreme, by the way. I do not think it's too extreme. I go based off the principle, as long as you're keeping it real with women and she knows what she's getting herself into, that's fine. I've had my parents, I've had family members, I've had friends tell me like Cameron, the way you're going about seeing life, women, and dating, you're not going to get a girlfriend. Well, I have a lovely girlfriend sitting over there, and she, her and I, we connect very well, and she believes in my leadership. There's a woman for every kind of guy, and every woman, as long as you have strong masculinity and leadership presence, whatever your version of masculinity is, if she believes in it too, she believes in your message, your leadership skills, your communication skills, she will fall in love with you. Of course, you have to be very good at intimacy, and you got to know how to be romantic as well.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is really hard to get good, clear information from that, because usually by the time you need that information, you're too young.
Yes. Or it's too late too, like too late to know the information. Like if you're in your marriage and it doesn't go right, then you're like, oh, well, how do I fix it? At that point, like red pill content creators will say, at that point, she's already checked out. So how you start is how you finish. Like that's another principle what we talk about. Is like if you started strong, you better end it the same way. And that's her same expectation. So if you're starting off like by being a trick is a guy who's like paying for sex, right? If you're gonna just buy your woman's love instead of her actually being into you romantically, that's how it's gonna end also. Like you're gonna have to constantly shower her with money. That's why a lot of guys guys are put in a position like, well, I ask myself, like, why do you put yourself in a position where you're always paying for everything? Like your woman doesn't cook, your lady doesn't like to buy you things either. Like, do you really want to be in a relationship like that? How do you know she even likes you? She probably doesn't. She's being driven by materials.
Yeah, the thing is probably once we like someone, it's like the first instinct is to like just shower her with love and like do everything that you can to like show that person that you care about them. So I bet that it's really complicated for someone, especially young people, like not knowing. And also you get everything that you get from movies, and everything is like the guy is the one that has to go out and do the mariachi and like take her on a cruise and like do this and do that, and it's really complicated to kind of hold your ground, especially if you are not coming to your like manhood and you don't know really. Think about it, when we were 16, 17, we didn't know all of the things that we know right now. We didn't have the experiences that we have right now. We hadn't seen different relationships, different things play out different ways. So I'm curious to ask you about that section of people, like probably kids who are watching right now that might be like 15, 16. What would you like tell them to focus on right now as they're coming into maybe getting done with high school, thinking about going into college, and you start having all these questions about like being a man and women and all of that? What are a couple things that you could tell them?
Yeah, I would say, well, if we're speaking, let's say I'm just speaking just to young men, I would tell them, I love to help young guys all the time. And I mean, in my community works, I do sometimes it involves young women as well, and I love helping them too. Let's just say if we're going to give advice just for young men at this moment, I would tell them that, you should literally be working on your skills. Focus on like what skills you're really good at. Not everybody has to go to college. Not everybody has to go, to a university. Trade school, for example, is a good idea. I would just try to figure out like what I would want to increase your creativity levels, because I really put myself down and told myself I'm not a creative guy. But I look at my Instagram story sometimes and I'm just looking like, damn, this is really freaking good. And I feel like my Instagram is like my artistry just being spoken. I picked the right song. I picked the right moment of the song. I picked the right picture with the right filter, just like how you do with your when you're directing and you're editing your work, you want it to be perfect, right? You're being creative in that moment. You're being an artist. And I feel like I'm being also an artist in that moment as well. So I would want any young man to really tap into their creativity. I want them to tap into to know that you don't have to follow the scripts that have been handed to you, meaning like if the media has told you got to go to school, you don't have to go to school. If the media told you got to be married at by the age of 30, or you had to have $1 million by the age of 30, no, you don't. I mean, follow what feels right for you. And actually, there's a really good book that you should read also. You and Abraham both should read. It's called Unscripted by MJ DeMarco. Fantastic book that really, which is kind of like what the red pill is all about. It's like helping you remove that mainstream scripts and all those chatter that you got from like family members or anybody else that they told you got to do this, you got to do it this way, you got to do it that way. No, you don't. There's so many ways to make money. There's so many ways to find the right woman, right? Like I said, I had people complaining to me, telling me you're never going to find a suitable partner if you do it this way or that way. I mean, look, I have a great relationship now. And I'm, in fact, I'm actually like leaving my family restaurant business so I can go do my own thing. People were telling me like, Cameron, why are you leaving? You're leaving. You can make, even my parents are saying, hey, you can make a lot more money working with us. It's not about that. It's about following what I believe is my correct script. And if I go against my script, Axel, I'm not being true to myself. I'm not being authentic. Even if the money's not that good right now, I'll figure it out. And thank God I have some kind of leverage right now to it'll be okay for now. Obviously I'm stepping it up. And, Candace and I, my girlfriend, we always talk about stepping up our finances, stepping up money in general so we can, because she has her own business as well. We're trying to build our businesses all together and create our own life. Create your own destiny. That's what it's all about. Create the life that you want.
Yeah, I love that. And what you said of focus on getting skills. Yeah. That is so underrated. And usually when you ask people that question, they're going to go with just believe in yourself and da-da-da. It's like, no, you got to learn how to do stuff. Yeah. Like when I was 15, 16, 17, I was staying up until 3 in the morning learning how to make movies, learning how to edit, teaching myself how to work with cameras and stuff. And now that has allowed me to follow my career, come to Hollywood, do all of this. So I love that you touched on that. And I want to roll right into the business side of things because that's something that is really interesting. And every time you and I talk, we're trying to figure out, okay, you're creating the content. at the end of the day, it's a business. You're trying to create influence to help people, but you also need to make money by doing that so you can keep doing the same thing. So tell me about how are you going about creating strategies and what things are you doing to take your following and the content creation that you're doing. How do you think about turning that into your business?
So for me, Axel, great question, by the way. For me, what I'm trying to do is I'm rebranding the Grand Mail. And the Grand Mail is my personal brand. It's still going to be the parent company, but I'm going to have I'm going to have a new podcast. Instead of the Grand Mail podcast, which you can find on YouTube, I'm going to change it to a more dating specific podcast. Thanks to the advice of Mr. Axel over here, Mr. Axel Arzola, for telling me to be more specific about what is it that I'm trying to provide in my message. So once I have that, I'm planning on doing everything on Apple and Spotify, Anchor. So that way, I feel like there's more opportunities through that, and becoming viral is much easier than YouTube. Now, I'm still going to make YouTube appearances. I love being in the Red Pill YouTube content creation space. I have a lot of friends I made from there. So I'm slowly trying to get out of that and be more in the mainstream, because the Red Pill is a gulag. Like, once you're in there, like, you don't really get success on the likes of like Tom Buyu, for example, or Tony Robbins. Like, you got to go mainstream. You got to change your message. That's kind of like an identity thing I have to change. It's like a little bit about my rhetoric, what I'm saying on there, because my podcast has some raunchy, very graphic moments of like talking about sexuality, talking about, men dating women and stuff like that. So I got to figure out, like, how do I convert my following from where they are now into that. So I'm actively focusing on that. But one thing also, just to continue the good image that I have about myself, and to make sure that I'm always building my professionalism within this industry, is to talk to guys like you. It's to talk to people who have all the fancy camera equipment and everything like that. Watching your stories, learning about like how you're editing, just so I can, again, the curiosity mindset is that's gonna take you to the next level. And as long as you just have the ability to like actually care and like give a fuck about your business and give a fuck about your life, then you're actually gonna you're gonna find it, you're gonna figure it out. You will literally figure it out. To get to where I was now, it took a lot of work, Axel. You got to work on your communication skills as a man. You got to work on your leadership skills. So I was in Toastmasters Calabasas, and Toastmasters Calabasas helped me build my leadership skills, my communication skills. In fact, I was president of the club in 1 year. And I didn't believe in myself. I thought, like, wait, why are you guys gifting me the president? They asked me, like, do you want to be president of our club? This is a 40-person club. Everybody's like, I'm only 26 at the time. Everyone's like 40, 50, 60. We have a 92-year-old lady who's like the founder of the club, like, even watching me. And I was like, really? You guys believe in me that much? And they saw that I was hungry. I was motivated. And I wanted the best for myself, so they believed in me in that. And all the people that watch the podcast, all the audience members, guys, every skill that you take on, leadership, communication, dating skills, editing skills, whatever it is, it's going to help you in so many areas of your life you didn't even realize. I didn't realize that working on my communication skills will help me communicate well with women.
And it's the base of everything that you're doing right now.
Yep. And if I had, Axel, I'm telling you right now, if I had not done Toastmasters, I would not be as courageous to start my podcast. That's just me personally. Everyone has their own trajectory. My trajectory is like, I need everything. Everything is like it's like a prerequisite to the next big thing. Like, the podcast is a big thing for me. The prerequisite, I had to be in a business fraternity to like learn how to have thick skin. So when I'm on the air and people are talking shit to me, I'm not like, oh, or like communication skills, Toastmasters, I'm communicating on the air. People need to believe in my message, so I need to know how to communicate well.
That's such good advice. And communication for me, like, I did the Strengths Finder. I don't know if you have heard about that. It's a personality test that you can take. I took it in college, and basically sets you up with there's an array of strength that we have as people. So mine, number 1 is communication. Number 2 is positivity. Number 3 is belief. Number 3 is developer. And number 5 is woo, like winning others over.
Okay.
So those are my 5 strengths, and I try to play to those.
Okay.
And communication for me, more than a strength, is like a passion, and it's so much fun to do. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because seeing you like talk and all that, Cameron rolled up here and he's like, oh wow, you have the cameras, and I'm kind of nervous. Bullshit. He wasn't nervous at all. He was like ready to go the moment we started. Like, you have been hitting all the questions and all that, and that's probably one of the things that if you can learn how to do that with people, then transferring that to like media and podcasts and all that, it becomes easy. Why do you think so many guys have a hard time talking to girls and like talking in public in general?
Guys need to understand that it's not even the rejection part that's hard. I want to find out, are you a time waster, right? Like if I'm teaching my student, I'll say, listen, find out if she's even wasting your time. How do I know that? I want to know, like, I want to discern the ones that are serious for me and the ones that are like not as serious for me. That's what I used to do when I go to the bars. If I felt at any inclination that like the girl was just trying to use me for a drink, I would immediately end the conversation. I would walk away. And I'm happy to walk away from a conversation that's 10 seconds long, 30 seconds long, 1 minute long. I've done that multiple times. And that's saved me time and money, and also saves her time and money. And by the way, I never do it in a very disrespectful way. That's what guys have to understand. Like, just because she says no to you, or she says like, I'm not interested, or like you're not rich enough for me, or whatever, don't take it personally. Literally, she's doing you a favor of rejecting you. Now you go find a woman that's more suitable for you. So that would be like the women aspect of it, is that, just don't place the value so high. Like, remember, this is just a human being after all. And then you got to have a strategy going in. If you don't have a strategy, it's complete anarchy. You're just throwing shit against the wall, see what sticks. And I deal with this all the time in my group chat. I see guys like telling me what they did. I'm like, you need a game plan. You need a flow. Everything has to be flows nice and smooth the whole time.
So give me an example of a flow like that, because I'm just thinking of like the scene of the movie where the guy is trying to do everything that you're saying, but the moment he gets there, he like freezes and like he starts rumbling and saying,
"Is this Hitch?
Silly thing."
Like that Will Smith movie?
No, I'm just like in my head as you're saying all of this, I'm visualizing the scenario. And if the guy doesn't have himself built and a good relationship with himself, all of this that you're talking about is so beyond the scope of what they could do, and even think that they could be like that with someone, because I think they need to be okay with them first, feel good about themselves. And I think it goes back to what you were saying of like, work on your skills, work on your communication, because then you're gonna feel like you're worth the same or more than the girl that you're talking to. So tell me about this flow and how in a good situation, how would that go?
Yeah, I mean, it's not black and white. So the best answer I can give is when you approach a woman, find out, you want to have like a nice warm introduction. You can just be like, hey, how are you doing? It could be along the lines of like, again, like me complimenting your jacket at the house party where I met you. You could also just tell a girl like, hey, I really like your boots. Like, I love girls that wear cowboy boots. So like, I've seen girls wear like Chelsea boots. I've seen girls wear like certain cowboy boots that like really like look really nice. And I'll say, hey, I love your boots, by the way. Do you happen to be like a country fan? I actually went to a Jason Aldean concert recently, and I love country music. I love country singers. The scene was really good. Are you a big fan of country? Just right there, I just started a conversation with the girl, right? And I'm being truthful. Like, I actually went to a country concert, so I can relate to her on that. Now, if there's not anything I can really relate to her, I'll go up to her and be like, hey, how are you doing? Cheers. And then from there, we start talking. Literally like that. I have a friend who I went on a Vegas trip with like a big group of guys in my mastermind group. And this guy told him, like, listen, I want you at this pool party. Pick any girl in this pool party you want to talk to. Any girl. I don't care who she is. I don't care what she looks like, how tall she is, how short she is, whatever. Or if you want her bigger and thicker, or if you want her more thin and petite. I don't care. Just any girl. He was like afraid the whole time. I said, listen, I'm by your side. I will start it for you, but you have to come and help me afterwards, right? And there was some girl, he was like, oh, I want to talk to that girl. I'm like, all right, well, watch this. She was like, talking to some other girls, and she's with like a group of guys also. And I'm like, hey, how are you doing? Cheers. And there's like live music playing in the background. Like, everyone's partying. This is at What Republic and MGM. So, it's loud, it's fun, it's noisy. It's, everyone's going, ape shit. And I'm just like, hey, what's up? Cheers. So when I did that, I wanted to show him, like, listen, it's not a big fucking deal. Like, just go talk to these women. It's really not a big deal. They want guys to approach them. Again, the most important thing, your role as a man, is to discern who are the time wasters and who's actually genuinely interested in you. And that's fair to say for women too. Women should also think, is this guy just gonna use me, or is he gonna be like actually somebody that wants to keep me around? And I'll be intimate with him, but like, is he gonna want to keep me around, right? So she needs to, and then also, is he a man of quality? Sometimes, Axel, girls just want just want to have sex, and guys just want to have sex, and they just have a casual sex, and they last for however long, and that's fine. You got to find out, like, you got to have, again, what are your intentions with per woman? What's your strategy? And the flow would be, again, just like a nice warm introduction. In between, you have good conversational skills where you're having her talk about herself, just like with, like, if I go up to like a content creator in zoo culture, right? I'm not talking about myself too much. I want to know more about that guy or that girl I'm talking to. And that's just, and even just like a friendship between you and me. We're just like guys, we're not celebrities. We're just, guys working. I could have started speaking about myself and say, yeah, I do this, I do that. But like, you'd be like, dude, fuck this guy. Like, he's boring and he's like not that cool. Why is even Abraham saying like this is his friend, right? I genuinely wanted to know about you. I saw your jacket. I complimented that. That was my way to introduce myself to you. And then from there, we just started talking about, your movies. We started talking about, my restaurant business. So then you also want to know more about me too. So it's, again, that value exchange. Same thing with chicks. Chicks want a value exchange as well. They want to hear cool stories. They want to be sexually aroused by you as well. So there's different methods of going about it. Again, authenticity is super important too. So if you're not like authentic during your flow, it's going to seem whack. It's going to seem stupid. It's not going to be genuine. And girls hate disingenuous men. Just be straight to the point. Your intentions, communicating that with her. And also, a really good advice I got from actually a pickup artist is this. So if you guys, for example, are lost in like what to converse with a woman about, always remember this: pets, travel, movies, food. I'm going to say that again: pets, travel, movie, food. You just keep it in those subjects. It's going to cultivate to something else, or you bring it back to pets, travel, movie, food, and she's going to love you. She's going to think you're like a conversationalist.
That's awesome, Cameron. I love it. So my last question, I would love to know, what are you the most passionate about? That if money was not an issue, time was not an issue, what would you do? What would you go after?
For me, it's just teaching in general. I love teaching. This dating coach thing is teaching. I would love to have the ability to, if money was not a thing, I want to be able to reach the masses through either YouTube. It's just, teaching is my passion. Really, it is. I would love to be a professor one day, like teaching at my school, at any university, teaching probably about marketing maybe, or small business, or just, I don't know, some kind of entrepreneurial thing, I guess would be what I want to teach. Dating coaching, I would love to just be paid, lots of money. And I want to manifest that to get that kind of energy where I can just coach and have retreats in, let's say, Hawaii or some kind of country where like in Mexico, for example, where I can help guys with like talking to women or something like that and show them it's not a big deal. And I also, through my teaching and my passion, Axel, I just want guys to have more clarity in their life. That's it. I just want, please get more clarity in your life. Because I'm still solving that. I have a lot more clarity than I did when I was 16, obviously, but I actively pursued the clarity route. I wanted, again, the curiosity mindset will bring you clarity. And when you take on this new advice and you have that new clarity in your life is just going to catapult even more. Then I built friendships with guys like you. I built friendships with other kinds of people. And then I have, a woman that actually respects me and loves me and appreciates me. And I also can show that same affection. So through my teaching, through my passion, just help guys get that clarity that they want.
That's awesome, Cameron. Thank you so much, man, for coming on the show. Amazing conversation. Guys, make sure to subscribe. And remember, be unique, add value, and just be yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in another episode.